received opinion. I want to make sure, and this goes exactly to what you were saying, Ms. Banks-Reed, that I want to make sure that there's a team that's working on this, so I'm not doing the investigation, but I'm in touch with them every day. But we have a team that's assigned to this case. What I want to do is make sure that we are doing everything we can to look at this from every angle before any opinion is made or any decision is made. So I'm really very disciplined about that, because I want to make sure that I have everything in front when we make this final determination.
And I know that you said you had wanted to be at the last meeting, and so you wanted to cancel because you weren't able to be here. So now that you're here, do you have any thoughts on anything that's going on?
Well, I'm consistent in everything that Nancy has shared. We talk about this case every day and check in with the people.
And there have not been no stability.
I have nothing more than what Nancy has said.
You know, Nancy, one of the issues that I think that has caused this case, this potential case to create the kind of discord that it has is because of the initial narrative. That narrative basically gave the impression that Shaleem was standing over this person with a gun and was about the shooting. And so then the question, who put that narrative out? And it's important, I think, in any report that ultimately gets issued here, is that that aspect of that level of communication gets identified. And that's extraordinarily important for everyone to have an appreciation as to how actor got off the rails and how that happened. You know, because when you do something like that, then it creates the impression that there was a deliberate effort to mislead.
That's right.
And so part of that aspect of things has to be worked out, if at all possible. I should say, investigated and included in the narrative of the report.
Yeah, you know, because they when you say you tell a lie or you have a narrative that's different from the reality of what we saw, it says half of the truth is often a great lie. So if it starts off with a lie, then what can we expect? If you start off with a lie, what can we look forward to? And if you build on a lie,
Right.
then what can we look forward to?
So would you be able to have your office reach out to the media to retract those statements, being that those are facts, that the initial report was not actually what happened that day?
When we make our final decision, we always write a report and we issue the report, and it's a public record. But it doesn't make sense right now for me to say to the Oakland Police Public Information Officer that she gave out information that wasn't the full evaluation or too soon. We can talk to them to say, if you're going, and we do this with the police, if the police want to make a statement, they cannot talk about the evidence, because we don't even know what all the evidence is yet. And I think this is the point that Mr. Burris is making, is that when we have something as serious as this, that if they don't know what the evidence is, they should not say anything, other than, they shouldn't say anything. And you know, the media is hounding, I know they're in difficult situations, but from my standpoint, I want to make sure that what we do is what we're able to report is accurate, and it's based on all of the evidence that we have in front of us. It's based on the other forensic work that we're having done, so that when we do issue our report, it is an accurate report, and then working with the media people, meaning the internal media people for the police departments, to say they have to stop talking.
Well, it'd have to be cohesive with the police, because if Chief Roja, which is the chief of police for BART, have been talking, and then a gag order had been put on Roja because he was running his mouth when he should not have been talking about the case when the case is under investigation. And so, as I said earlier, he brings up, after having the gag order, talking to communications of BART, stating that he was promoting Joseph Mtg. He's still talking. So how are you working together if this is a collective investigation?
Well, Chief Roja is new to Alameda County. He hasn't been here that long. And when we work with the chiefs, like particularly Oakland, and some of the other departments, they know that if they're gonna make a statement, to not talk about the evidence. And so I think that what I believe happened, and what you're referring to, or what you're referring to, is that night on the scene, the Oakland Police Information Officer was saying what she believed to be the case. She wasn't there either, so she's getting it from someone else. So what our effort is to make sure that we have that discipline with those public information officers to not give an opinion or not to fill in the blanks where there are gaps, because she didn't know what was happening. No one did until we start talking to people and doing the investigation. So as far as the chief and Bart, there's a gag order. And once again, he's got a board they've got a director of Bart.
Yes.
The board has made their decision, and they need to deal with him. And from my perspective, it's the same message about not talking about evidence of a case while the case is pending.
Yeah, well, I don't give Roja a pass because of it, because he's well familiar
Yes.
with being a chief of police. He's from Santa Ana, which he was exit out of Santa Ana because of various reasons. So he's well aware of how to investigate and the proper protocol of doing things. So I give him no pass.
And then there should be some sort of consequences in regards to that, to not put it off as if he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Because as Ms. Yolanda said, he did know. And he had to have spoken to someone or a team or to get feedback on before he even released the statement of a promotion. And he ultimately made the decision to go forward and do so. So there should be some form of consequence when things are like that are done, especially at a sensitive time like this.
Exactly.
And directly against the family. And I just think that he should be held accountable in whichever way he can, so that does not happen again. I honestly, personally think he needs to step down. He needs to sign, put in his resignation, because he has directly offended our family multiple times without any consequence. So that needs to come at a point to where he's held accountable even for his actions. Because to release a statement like that is a huge blow. It's not something minute or something that we can just brush under the table and act as if he didn't know or he wasn't aware of what he was doing. He was fully aware of the consequences or the impact that it would have on our family. He didn't care. As a chief, he should be held accountable in some way from someone. Whoever has the power to do that, somebody does. Because he has to, just like we're sitting around a table, he has to have sat around a table and discussed this with his team or the BART directors, and it was approved to be pushed through at this time, which is in poor taste. It's a direct offense to our family, and he needs to be held accountable at some point for his actions.
Well, it's not until questions are asked.
Right.
When Chronicles start asking questions, how is this man being promoted?
Right.
Someone is always going to be there to ask questions and hold someone accountable for
That's right.
whatever goes out into the atmosphere, because you send it out there, then it's already been in action and you have already caused a ripple effect. And once that's called, it's hard to call that and retract it. And so my desires is that I'm able to sit down and reflect on my son, and knowing that Joseph Mtg have been charged. Because as I told you a week ago, he's already convicted in my heart because he murdered my son. But I want it on paper. I want to see him charged and locked up. The man, as his own cousin, stated that he shouldn't have never been a police officer. She knows. She grew up around him. She knows his characteristics. She knows his attributes. She knows all about him. But she knows me too. And she knows my characteristics and my attributes, and it have never changed from the time I've been born. I've been the same, and I'm still the same. So I think you should weigh things accordingly. And I appreciate you taking out this time.
Ian.
Do you have any more to add, Mr. Burris?
No, I don't. I think that everyone's had a chance to get a sense. It's not an investigation, so.
No, I just want to say, with everything being said here today, you're saying the forensics, for the investigation, you have to send it out. My thing is, I want to add Why does it need all